It's now time to take a look at news stories making headlines around the globe. Vice President Kashim Shettima has decorated Kayode Egbetokun with his new rank of Inspector General of Police (IGP), pending his full confirmation by the Senate. Egbetokun was decorated at the presidential villa in a brief ceremony witnessed by top government officials, including the Secretary to the Government of the Federation, Senator George Akume, Chief of Staff to the President, Femi Gbajabiamila, National Security Advisor Nuhu Ribadu, Imo State Governor Hope Uzodinma, who also serves as the chairman of the Progressive Governors Forum, outgoing Inspector General of Police Alkali Baba, and family members. On Monday, President Bola Tinubu approved Egbetokun's appointment to succeed Alkali Usman, who was removed along with all service chiefs of the country. Following the decoration ceremony, former IG of Police Alkali Usman Baba shared his thoughts on passing the baton to his successor.
Very significant, like you have mentioned. It's a stage. You come, you walk, and you go. I'm happy I'm handing over to somebody I know that will carry the mantle of leadership from where I have stopped. We grew up in the job. We grew up together. I was his boss at a time, not even when I was IG. He worked under me twice. We've been working together, and I know how he can go ahead to champion the cause of the police from where I have stopped.
Now I have just been decorated, and I'm looking forward to taking over tomorrow morning by 11 a.m. I really can't describe how I feel presently, but if I have to tell you anything, I will tell you that right now, I feel like a tiger inside of me, ready to chase away all the criminals in Nigeria. And some other time, I feel like a lion in me, ready to devour all the enemies, internal enemies of Nigeria. That's my feeling right now.
The tiger. Rufai.
I don't want to sing that the emperor, the champion, the lion, that is yes, Zobu Zobu, anybody. Oh yeah.
No, you don't want to sing it.
I don't want to sing it, but I just went through it. But see, congratulations to him. Yeah. He comes prepared. He has seen the job for himself. There are lots of people, say many things about the president, saying that he brought his own loyalists in there because, don't forget, he had served with President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. But also the other part of the argument is, as long as they deliver, let him bring in his loyalists. If they are the people he wants, he thinks he can work with, they can come in as long as they deliver. But also, we must also respect balancing in the country as regards ethno-religious balancing. And it must not be seen like other people are not given the chance. But as long as they deliver, good for him. Secondly, it's the end of an era for Alkali Baba, He also had retired long ago. We also have a new police IG. But we had to extend during the election period.
Yes.
So he did oversee the election. He went through the election process. But afterwards, now he's finally retired. We have former DIG Egbetokun in there as IG of police. Goes through, that long list of police officers we've had in this country, the likes of Cam Salem and Louis Edet on this one. But what he said is the part I'm really passionate about. That he will be a lion to devour criminals. Yes. And he must be able to do that and ensure that his men are disciplined. Because while we also canvass for increased pay and increased welfare for police, like I've always argued, it is when the police pay increases that their pension outcomes can increase. So I canvass for increased pay and all of that. But also, the police officers too also must be briefed on how to relate with citizens. Many years after NSAS, we still have cases of police brutality being reported. There are videos currently circulating online of how police treat citizens. The police must also respect the rights of the citizens while we campaign for improved welfare for them. It has to be said. So these are part of the things he should do. And also, to a large extent, we think that a lot must be done to bolster the police force. I have also argued vehemently for state police. Because for a country spread across 923,000 square kilometers of land, less than 400,000 police officers cannot effectively monitor this country. And internal security rests on the police. Our military is overstretched as we speak. So he must do everything to fight criminals. We'll support him. We'll give him all the kudos where he's done it well. But when he's done wrong by infiltrating on the rights of citizens, we'll also call him out. Because like I say, any government must be supported with criticism and kudos. So we want him to devote crime and criminality. We want his administration to be good. But he must also remember that he's accountable to the people. And he must constantly brief police officers on the way they treat citizens. And I'm happy that the police force, in all fairness to them, anytime errant officers have been called out, they do the needful and they sanction them. But he must also do more because this is the beginning of a new era. It's as simple as that, pure and simple.
Absolutely. I mean, you mentioned a number of things. Congratulations again to the Acting Inspector General of Police, former DIG, but now IG of Police, Egbetokun. One of the things we're looking forward to is hopefully he would leverage the relationship he's enjoyed with the president to be able to work in synergy with the executive to discharge his duties. You've highlighted a number of key areas that I would be looking forward to him addressing immediately. But some of those things, beyond strengthening the police, is also restoring the dignity of the police. Oftentimes, when we have a new IG of police in charge, the first few things they do is they ban, personal aids to VIPs or certain personalities in the country. But usually, the implementation falls flat after the announcement. Perhaps we would see that being implemented under his tenure. Also, we look at the welfare of the police, as you've highlighted, Rufai. This is something that has been pushed a number of times. When a new leader comes into office, there's usually high expectations from the people that he is leading, and in this area, the police. So what we're looking forward to him doing is reforms in that area. May he look into the issues of police brutality across the country. These are the kind of things we're looking forward to him doing. He has largely the Constitution backing him. We have had a number of reforms. Well, we're still asking, this is where he would work with the legislature to strengthen and reform the police under his tenure. That's what we're looking forward to. It was good to see him there with his wife. It was good to see, being decorated alongside Senator Kashim Shettima. It's good to see the excitement. It was good to see him speak and talk tough afterwards, saying that he was going to go after criminals. The legacy we're looking forward to, IG Egbetokun, is that we'll see reduced crime rates in the country. The president has reiterated his commitment to tackling insecurity in the nation under his tenure. And so one of the things we often look at when we talk about internal security is that we keep looking at the military. So all eyes have been on the service chiefs to maintain law and order. But we must also recognize the fact that the responsibility of the maintenance of internal security actually lies with the police. But unfortunately, year in, year out, they've been pushed back, and we've had an over-militarized nation where we see military men, men in uniform on our streets, whereas it's the police that should, be doing these things. So even in terms of during elections, in terms of fighting crime, the police should be at the forefront of this. We're looking forward to him restoring the dignity and the office of the police officer. I'm definitely looking forward to that. And also, in terms of morale, one of the things the police have talked about beyond their welfare is even lacking morale. Especially, I must say, post-EndSARS, we have seen that even though the fight was for the people and the police, I must emphasize, it seemed as if it was the people against the police. And so there's been that underlining, undercurrent of tension. He has a role and a duty to perhaps come in here and settle this and ensure that we're able to work together with civilians. Let us get back to the police being your friend, being a reality, as opposed to being something comical that we see on the walls of police station. Let it be real. And then he can take advantage of the fact that the National Security Advisor is a former policeman himself. So perhaps he's able to understand better, and this is his constituent. So that could work to his advantage. And I hear that he had a meeting. He met with Malam Nuhu Ribadu after his decoration yesterday. And so talks have already begun in terms of how to better secure the nation. Once again, congratulations, IG Egbetokun. High expectations. The people are hopeful. And there's a lot of work ahead of you, especially in maintaining law and order in the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Now, we'll move on to other stories. Further to the directive on the dissolution of boards of federal government parastatals, agencies, institutions, and government-owned companies, the Secretary to the Government of the Federation has clarified that the boards of the National Drug Law Enforcement Agency, NDLEA, and the National Agency for Food and Drug Administration and Control, NAFDAC, are exempted from such dissolution. President Bola Ahmed Tinubu had on Monday approved the immediate dissolution of the governing boards of all federal government parastatals, agencies, institutions, and government-owned companies in the exercise of its constitutional powers and in the public interest. Well,
I mean, the clarification has been made because when the story came out, a lot of people were saying, is it all boards? But obviously, it is not all boards. NAFDAC and NDLEA are exempt. One thing a lot of people want to push further is why NAFDAC or why NDLEA?
Exactly.
People have postulated a lot, but I like to take things at face value. If this board are exempt, let's say it is the prerogative of the presidency to understand this. In fact, we've heard all sorts. They've put all sorts of political spin to it and all of that. You know, they've even made mention of people's names and all of that. But here, as traditional objective media, we're not here to come and say all of that. But the gist of the matter is the fact that, yes, these have been kept, these have not been exempt, and the fact that, and I must have to say, I would like to hazard that it lay credence to the kind of immense work these two people have been doing, these two bodies have been doing.
Absolutely.
NDLEA, for instance, we've seen a lot of crackdown by the Buba Marwa-led NDLEA as regards fighting crime and criminality. But there are some cases that we have not seen a resolution to. One chief in my mind is one of the biggest discovery they made out of Ikorodu. How far is that case going? Can journalists be briefed on that case? Yes, we remember the case as regards the former super cop, Abba Kyari, that is in jail now, still having his time in court. But can we get briefs? But true to type, NDLEA has done a yeoman's job, we must have to confess. And also NAFDAC. NAFDAC did an immense job during COVID-19 pandemic, and we must have to give kudos to them. Only the other day, I saw a story about NAFDAC doing malarial trials to be able to get a malaria vaccine. Indigenously, we're beginning to upskill the healthcare sector. And that was done. I mean, we had COVID-19 vaccine candidates produced locally. I remember the Professor Morrissey, COVID-19 vaccine candidate and all of that, even if it didn't sail through. But you can see that the head of NAFDAC is a proponent of using our own indigenous culture, indigenous medicine here to be able to heal illnesses. And, you know, we're waiting for that big day where our indigenous drugs will be deployed to cure major illnesses or heal major illnesses around the world. So I want to hazard that it is because of the great job and you don't want to distort things like that. That's why those two boards were exempt. But, you know, people will hazard all sorts. They will say all sorts. They will have all sorts of connotation and all of that. But the president, like I said before, it is about people he can work with. Give him the chance to work with these people. Let us give him the chance. But we will also support him with our criticism where necessary and with our kudos, you know, where necessary. Just like one of them will be the people that the DSS have arrested, the likes of Emefiele and co, their fundamental human rights have to be upheld. If you have arrested them, ACJA says a certain threshold, charge them to court. It's as simple as that. That's all what a lot of people are calling. So those are criticisms that we have to look into because we have to do things properly.
All right, yes, I must agree with you in terms of there can be different sides of the argument as with regards to why were these two agencies exempted out of all the government agencies and parastatals, MDAs that were said to have their boards being dissolved. But a critical look into, and as you have excellently assessed, the work that NAFDAC and NDLEA have done under the current leadership. So in terms of NDLEA, one of the things that we must do, and it's something I talk about quite frequently, is communication. For each of these parastatals, they have a communications team. They have a media team that's supposed to engage and tell people what it is that they are up to, particularly agencies like NAFDAC and NDLEA, because spreading the word or talking about it inspires confidence in Nigerians. Beyond that, also highlights and hopefully puts fear in people who might want to attempt to do so. Important. And they have done very well in this regard. You've talked about the malaria vaccine. We have the herbal concussion raid that has also been done by NAFDAC, where they clamped down on illegal concoction makers. We also looked at clamping down on illegal trade of drugs across the country. A number of wins under the current leadership. Also with NDLEA, in the news every other day you see one major burst or the other. But beyond the burst, so that it's not just a fanfare or sensational headline, is what happens afterwards. We must see the work of NDLEA translate to a reduction in drug addiction and the illegal trade of drug in Nigeria. Unfortunately, Nigeria still ranks quite high in terms of drug trade, in terms of drug addiction. In fact, it has been said that we have an addiction problem that we're not quite addressing. And the age has become younger, amongst we go to some secondary schools, some lower schools, and we're not addressing this. So what we're looking forward to, because the reward for good work is more work. And so if they've been rewarded, and hence the reason why they haven't been affected by the dissolution of boards, what we're expecting from them is even more work. So beyond the announcements of raids, beyond the confiscation of drugs at borders or anywhere, is also addressing the education part of NDLEA, the awareness raising part of NDLEA, the working with other not-for-profit organizations and organizations who are working to end this cycle of abuse and addiction in Nigeria. Very critical work that they have ahead of them. And then also, it'll be interesting to find out for the other boards that there's a proper handover, that there's a proper report, that there are proper audits done, there are proper investigations done. And in the instances where the management hasn't done right in terms of the government agencies that have been dissolved or the boards that have not agencies, the boards of these agencies have been dissolved, it is important that there's a handover note that the public to a very large extent can access and read, and there's a proper handover as well. Because what was said and touted a number of times last administration is that government is a continuum. So if this is the spirit of things, then we should see that play out and not have, just because, out with the old, in with the new. One of the advantages of this administration is that it's under the same APC umbrella. So it begs to question that, it's the same party. Hopefully, transition would be smoother than if it were another party. So these are some of the things that Nigerians are looking forward to, and of course, the new appointments. I'll take this opportunity to just talk about the new appointments because, Rufai, you said something about the president would want to bring on his own people, but it should not be traded on the altar of competence. So that we have people who are competent and not just a reward for those who have been loyal, people we want to reward with juicy positions. It is important that the president aligns with his campaign promises of competence, fairness and equity in appointing the new board members to these agencies.